Hello besties, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be teaching you guys how to make an underburst corset top. The first thing you need to do is to draft out your basic measurements from your shoulder to your underburst. I'll be dropping a link to draft out the basic measurement in my description box. So after drafting out your shoulder to underburst measurement, you use the slash and spread method, and then you add how many inches you want to use as your excess allowance to gather it to your corset measurement. So in this video I use 3 inches apart. Then you add 1 inch to the bottom part, that is to use it to join it to the down part of the top. Then you cut it out. Your pattern is good to go. The next thing you want to do is to cut the down part of the top. I will also leave a description link. I'll leave a link in my description box so that you can go and check how to cut it out here. So this is me just modifying a little bit of, I had to add a little bit of allowance because the initial pattern is for a size 12 and I'm cutting this top for a size 14. So I just had to add about 1 inch at the side for sewing allowance, and then I labeled my pattern. I labeled the zip allowance. I labeled it as size 14 so that next time I want to cut, I will know which sizes I'm cutting from. Then this is me cutting out my pattern on my fabric and notching the allowance I used as my excess allowance. And then you'll be cutting 2 of these pieces. That is 4 pieces each. That's 4 pieces, 2 for one side, 2 for the other side, because you'll be using this same fabric to turn your clothes. You won't be using lining, you'll be using this same fabric to turn your top. So this is the back pattern. The link will be in my description box. So after cutting out my back pattern, I'll be cutting a facing for it. That's because since the front has lining already, you want to make sure you cut facing for the back. Don't use by hands. Then after that, the next thing you want to do is to turn the neckline of your back. You turn the neckline of your back and you turn the neckline of your front, and do not forget to top stitch. You turn the neckline of your back, you turn the neckline of your front. So this is me cutting the down part of the top. You cut 4 pieces for this one as well. That is the same fabric will be the lining. You are not using lining, you're not using suit lining, you're using same fabric for your lining. This to give it a perfect finishing. So you're using same fabric. So this is me cutting double of it. I'm cutting double of it so as to use the other part as the lining, and then I will do the necessary notching. So this is the sleeve. The link, a proper video for the sleeve will be linked in the description box. So this is the bubble sleeve. I call it bubble sleeve, gathered sleeve. So it will have elastic at the bottom out of the sleeves, and it's going to have gathers at the round armhole. So a link will be dropped in the description box for a detailed video on how to cut this sleeve. So I just reconfirmed my measurement, and then we are good to go. So the first thing you need to do is to turn the frontal part of your top. This is me sewing. Please, you want to make sure you are calm, because this fabric, they can be very, very tricky. If you're not careful, you just notice that the one underneath has gone inside, so you have to be really careful. So after turning, you make a little notch. Please be careful about notches so you don't tear your clothes. You make a little notch, and then you top stitch on the one that you want to use as lining. The one that is going to serve as lining is the one you are going to top stitch on. Please do not top stitch on the main fabric. Yes, they are both same fabric, but one is serving as a lining while the other is serving as the main fabric. So after I've done them, this is the result. You can see how neat it is looking. I top stitched my back, and then at the hem I top stitched it, and I used my hemming gun to finish it up. You can see how neat it is looking. Then I took in my dart, half inch each. Then we are good to go with the back. And then for the front, I basically repeated the same step I did for the back, just that I turned the center front of the front. I turned the center front, and then I turned the side as well. So we are good to go about that as well. So now I need you to pay attention to this part, because this is the tricky part of this. For a neat finishing, this is how you attach the front bodies, the upper bodies to the lower body. This is how you attach it. You take in your frontal part, the upper part, the upper part, the one that you are going to gather. You take it, and then you take one piece of the lower part. You know the zip allowance we initially notched, so you leave that zip allowance, that one in zip allowance, you leave it aside, and you start exactly where the zip allowance stopped. You start making your gathers from there. After you must have gathered it, you take another piece of the lower part, and then you use it to cover the same finishing. If you are used to sewing band, it's going to be easy for you. So here I'm top stitching the lining and the main fabric together, so I have just one single piece, so that's going to be easy for me to gather. And then I will trim off any excess. That might be, because I'll trim off any excess. So the next thing you want to do is what I explained initially. You take in one piece of the lower part, and then you gather the upper part to it. One piece of the upper part, you gather it to it, then you cover it up with the second piece. You know, initially we cut 4 pieces for the lower part as well. That's 2 for main fabric and 2 will serve as the lining. And you know there is a zip allowance demarcation there, so that makes it 4 pieces. So the first thing you need to do is take one piece first, and then gather the upper part, one piece of the upper part on it, and then you take the other piece of the lower part, and then you use it to turn it over. So at the end of the day, the upper part will be in between the lining of the back's corset, the back's waistline. So this is more of you just watching what I'm doing, but I'm just explaining for clarity. So the upper part, the upper bust part that you gathered will be in between the lining and the fabric, so there will be no seam allowance showing. When you flip it to the other side, it will be looking so neat. So this is more of you watching this video to understand it very well. Then after you've done the part, you turn the zip allowance, and then you are good to go. So the next thing you want to do is to turn the zip allowance. You turn the zip allowance and you turn the sides. You turn the zip allowance and you turn the sides, and then you go over to your ironing table and you iron properly. So the next thing you want to do is to insert your elastic to your sleeve, and before doing that, you have to hem the bottom part of the sleeve to make a casing, so that you can pass your elastic into it. You can hem it down with 1/2 inch or 0.7 inch, so that it will be easy for your elastic to fit in without it struggling. So after you must have hemmed the bottom part of both sleeve, then you use your safety pin or your picker to pass your elastic into it. I couldn't find my safety pin, so I had to use a picker to pass my elastic. If you're not comfortable using a picker, please get a safety pin and use it for faster results. So after passing in my elastic, I will stitch the edge so that it doesn't go in. I will stitch the edge of the I'll stitch one end of the sleeve, so that it's going to be easy for me to gather my elastic. So after stitching the end, I will draw my elastic to make sure I'll draw it to the size I want. Most people use 7 inch or so, but me, I like to eyeball it. After stitching one end, I just draw it till I know that, okay, till the Holy Spirit tell me that, okay, this one will fit in the round sleeve of the first end. So once I do that, I cut off the excess elastic, and then I stitch the other end, and I repeat the same steps for the other sleeve, and I measure it together so that they are equal, and then I sew it down with 1/2 inch. Yes, 0.5 or 0.7 inch. I sew it down with 0.7 inch, and then the sleeve is good to go. So this is me trying to hold it together with a 0.5 inch as my seam allowance, because it's a big sleeve, so it does not need to be fitted, so I don't need to do any major measurement. I just need to stitch it down because the upper parts will be having gathers and the lower part already has elastic, so I just stitch it down with a 0.7 inch, and then that's that about the sleeve. Next thing you want to do is to attach your sleeve to the bodies. I already shaped my clothes together because so the clothes is ready. Look at the hair. This is what I was explaining, that the gathered part will be in between lining and main fabric, so there's no excess, there's no seam allowance showing, so it's very, very neat. So this method is for a neat finishing. So after you've done that, you shaped your body with either 1 inch or 0.5 inch. It depends on the allowance you added to it, depends on the seam allowance you added to your bodies. After stitching it, after shaping it together, next thing you want to do is to attach your sleeve, and make sure that when you want to gather your excess, make sure that you gather it at the joining of the shoulder. You split it, you make a notching on the sleeve and you make a notching on the shoulder part, and you make sure that both notching are meeting together. So guys, this is the finished look of the beautiful top we made together. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe to my channel. See you guys in my next video.